Welcome to the weekly dose of Emuna for Shabbat Kodesh. Today we're going to talk about rest being a created thing. We're going to find out today what rest really means in relationship to Hashem. Now, when Hashem created Shabbat Kodesh and he commanded for us to rest, he certainly didn't require us to rest because he was, God forbid, implying that he needed some rest in order to go on working or that he was fatigued. A godlike rest is very, very different than what we interpret it to be. Menucha shlema is the way that it's actually described in the Torah. A perfect rest is what Hashem requires of us, Am Yisrael, a rest that comes from Hashem. It's created by Hashem, and it's given to us by Hashem. In other words, the menucha itself was created on the seventh day, and every Shabbat it's created again. As it's written in the Midrash Rabbah, after 6 days of creation, what did the universe lack? Menucha. Came the Shabbat, came menucha, and the universe was complete. And what is this menucha that God created on the seventh day? Tranquility, ease, peace, and quiet. Menucha, in essence, is a special act of creation that it brings into being because the universe was not complete without it. Menucha is the same as saying that we should be in a state of happiness, of stillness, with no fear, with no distrust. So in essence, it's not at all what we assume for it to be. Shabbat in itself, when it discusses the idea of menucha, of rest, a perfect rest, it discusses the idea of complete harmony between us, Am Yisrael, mankind, and nature. Between us, meaning one to another, and also between us, between the way that we interact with nature. So when we talk about having rest, we're talking about having the sense of complete harmony, creating harmony between the nature and social being, our social interaction. It's for 1 day a week, we get to sever ourselves from the chains of time, the chains of nature. Work in itself, when we look at it, is really a symbol of conflict, of competition, of a lot of disharmony. Rest, on the other hand, is an expression of honor, of peace, of freedom, of dignity. So it's a very different type of environment. Now, during the week, during the 6 days of the work week, it's very easy for us to think of ourselves as being the creature. As opposed to being the creature, we're actually, unfortunately, a lot of times thinking that we're all-knowing, as if we're the creator himself, God forbid. But it's on Shabbat Kodesh that we actually understand. We declare menucha. We take a temporary leave from the stressful world, but yet we remain attached to it by declaring menucha, by declaring that we abide by what Hashem has asked us to do, and we gladly rest on that day. We don't decide for ourselves that we are in a state of exhaustion and we're deciding that it's time for us, to permit ourselves to take time off. It comes completely independent of us with the onset of sunset on Friday afternoon. And as the Torah says, it was part of the beginning of creation, and it will continually be a sign forever. Be'ezrat Hashem, this Shabbat Kodesh, may we have a menucha shlema, a perfect rest, a rest that's described and created just for us, and that we every Shabbat Kodesh have the ability to create anew for ourselves. Shabbat Shalom.